I'd like to first thank the Honorable Congresswoman from the great state of Florida, the Honorable Sheila Sherfulis McCormick. Madam Speaker, today I rise because June is National Reunification Month, and we owe it to Black families not to be silent about what the child welfare system has done to them in both tragic and traumatic ways. I say to you today, the effects of having been a devastating and long-lasting on our children. And the fact that we even have to have a National Reunification Month says it all. How could it even be possible that a system that purports to help Black families has been so chiefly responsible for the separation of the very families it supposedly exists to serve? This kind of morose contradiction cannot be allowed to persist and linger, because whether some people in this country are willing to admit it or not, families come in all shapes and sizes. Families come in all colors and configurations. And they even come in various economic conditions and levels of education. But all of them are still families. And all of them deserve our commitment. All of them are depending on the work we do in this chamber. And the members of this body cannot just care about the families that remind them of their own. No matter the race or configuration of a particular family, we are here to serve every family in this country. And whether we care about all American families, or in truth, is it that we only care about some and mostly none? Black families deserve all the rights and opportunities extended to every other family in this country. In fact, considering the historical assault on this country's institutions and policies against Black families, one might even suggest that Black families deserve to have more than most. We have been through a lot. I'm honored to be a member of this congressional body to represent the 1st Congressional District of the state of Illinois. And when I think that of the life of a young child that was kidnapped from West Africa in the name of Phyllis Wheatley in 1753, who was manumitted from slavery in 1773, our nation has come a long way. But let us never forget, a child had been kidnapped that was 8 years of age, and they approximated her age because of the size of her teeth, that had to go up and talk to John Hancock and others, and had to cite poetry that we later came to find out were anagrams, an absolute brilliant child. And she was the first person of African ancestry from 1619 to 1753 to have been manumitted from slavery. And I want us to know that Black families are more valuable simply because they've been through so much. And Black families just don't have their value because they've been through so much. It's because of the compassion they've had to grow. Not one family is more valuable than the others. We all have different experiences. And sometimes they've had long-lasting and a devastating legacy of neglect that has too often resulted in outright violence. We rise tonight to reflect on the role of this tragic system and how we might strengthen bonds and not just perpetuate historical problems and systemic norms in the child welfare system that has torn so many families apart. I am convinced now more than ever that we must do whatever we can to reduce the need for foster care and strengthen families in whichever configuration they are formed. Until this system of a child welfare can see the value in keeping families together, we must hold the system accountable for what we know to be right. And what we do, we also have to know is the right thing. We know that, yes, every child should be protected, and they still need their mothers and their fathers, no matter the frailty and the conditions that they suffer from. And yes, children should have their basic needs met too, but they still need their grandmothers and grandfathers. Our child welfare system should not separate children. Our child fostering system that's supposed to help feed and nourish children should not separate children under any case. Every child has a brother or a sister, deserves to have a relationship with their brother or the sister they possess. And inasmuch as children should be protected from whoever seeks to threaten their integrity of their lives, it is also the case that no child should be erroneously or permanently separated from people who love them. We must change the economic conditions and political factors that make it even possible for black children to end up not being cared for by their relatives because of a lack of capacity and resources. There is a reason black families are more likely to be investigated by Child Protective Services and to have their children removed and placed in out-of-home care. There is a reason more than 50% of black children in the U.S. will experience a child welfare investigation before their 18th birthday, and 10% of black children will be placed into foster care. These are not accidental occurrences, but rather they are the manifestation of a deep and pervasive systemic bias. Black children spend more time in foster care. Black children have more placements. And yes, black children are less likely to be reunified with their families when somebody needs to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. And since the children of our community cannot speak on the floor of this chamber, tonight we dare to speak for them. Tonight we pick up the standard for their cause and declare emphatically on their behalf, let these children return home to loving families. Let them be treated with respect. Let's give them the presumption of innocence and virtue that they deserve, and let them be reunited with the kindred spirit that produced them and continues to love them in spite of the challenges that they face. This pattern of unjustified investigations and prolonged separations must be brought to an end, not just for the sake of the children, but also for the sake of the nation's future. Unless the children of our community are returned to the loving arms of their family, no child in this country is safe. No child can sleep easily at night. But we will not rest until the circle is restored and until the village can once again decide for itself what is best for our children. So as we work to keep them safe, let us live to make them free. Because the night shines light in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it alone. We thank God for the life, the living, and the legacy of the Honorable Phyllis Wheatley, a child that was separated and was the first to be manumitted, to be freed in America, a child that was kidnapped, that God had born free, that had to have her rights restored as a human being. Madam Speaker, I'd like to now yield my time and thank the Honorable Sheila Sherfilis McCormick from the great state of Florida for her continued service.